Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to week 11 and it is spring planting week, which is very exciting. So I've got my grow bags pretty much filled. That's why I look a little bit like this because because that's what I spent my morning doing. And so we're just gonna plant a couple of tomatoes, and really the process is really easy. It's the same for whatever tomato you're planting. So I have a little hole dug for this guy. This is a Paul Robeson tomato. That's an heirloom variety. It's more of a paste tomato from what I understand. I've never actually grown it. But we're gonna do a couple of things to the seedling before we actually plant it. So we are going to, this is gonna look painful and I'm sorry. We're gonna actually pluck off some of the lower leaves. I wanna plant this guy as deep as I can. So I'm actually also going to pop off this one. The other thing you want to think about is taking off any branches that are going to get splashback, and you kind of want to avoid that as much as possible. So we're going to strip some of the leaves. You want to leave enough on the top for plenty of new growth to happen. This stem is nice and thick, so that is good. And then I've got a little bit of a hole dug already, but you want to get this hole, actually I need to throw some gloves on because I'm just taking a quick break from working to do this with you guys. Alright. Pop this guy out. Look at that. So you do kind of want to like zhuzh the roots a little bit to like loosen them up, but not too much. But so you got some roots hanging down. Not that complicated. And you want to make sure you give your tomatoes a really good water after you plant them. And I actually really wanted to get a couple of mine planted today, especially in the grow bags, because we're supposed to get a little bit of rain tonight, so that's going to help them get really nice and saturated. This one's a bit smaller. This is a San Marzano, so because this one's small, I'm actually not going to pluck the leaves off of this one at all. However, great root development. Hey guys, so you'll notice none of these tomatoes are planted. I just got done spending the day with my mom. She came here to help me plant all these tomatoes that are unplanted. And the reason that they're not planted is because so it rained this morning a little bit, and then it wasn't supposed to rain all day, and then it rained all day, basically. So we ended up going to check out a nursery that I wanted to see for a really long time called the Natural Gardener. Unbeknownst to us, it was like one of the top 5 nurseries in the country. It was an amazing experience. I'm so glad I got to spend the day with her. I got this big, beautiful Boston fern that is now hanging out on my front porch to give some of those, like, you know, old Southern vibes. And yeah, my heart feels very full, and I just love my mom. So one of the things I now have to do is plant all of these tomatoes, which is fine. And another thing that I did while she was here was I actually had her write my plant markers. These are like 20 bucks from Amazon. My mom is left-handed, and I've always loved her handwriting. And so I asked her very nicely if she would write my plant markers so that every time I come look at my tomatoes, I can think about her. So, not that I don't think about her frequently, I talk to her almost every day. But this will finish getting planted out today. And yeah, I got some flowers at the nursery. I got that fern. And let me show you one cool thing she brought me. So my parents guess you could call them antique dealers. It's kind of their hobby. You can tell we're a hobby family. One of their big hobbies is antiquing, and they sell antiques out of an antique store and all this stuff. So my mom saw these signs, and these are like real road signs from Texas. Like some of them like still have bird poop on them, and this is what it looks like. And it's just so beautiful and so cool, and it's still got all of these like little nicks on it and all of these just beautiful things, and I just really love stuff like this. So she brought me one, and it's going to live in my garden. And also something else I just wanted to talk about really quick is I had just like a really sour attitude the last couple of weeks, I guess you could call it. Just, you know, for 500 reasons that aren't important, nor are they devastating. And, you know, being with my mom today just gave me this really grateful heart and spirit, and that's the kind of energy I want to bring into planting these plants, which I know sounds very like hippy dippy. I get it. But I always want to make sure when I'm putting new life into the garden that I'm doing that in a very intentional way that that's going to be successful and, you know, bring good energy to this whole situation. So even though we did not actually get any of this planted today, I'm almost kind of happy that we didn't, because when my mom got here this morning, I was just stressed and I was tired, and, you know, I just was not annoyed, but like almost just like, oh my God, you know, we got to do all this planting, and I wasn't even excited for it because we've done so much hard work getting up to this point, and now I'm actually really excited about it. And you know, this is going to be a little bit spiritual, but I really like to, while I'm doing this stuff, I like to think about things that I'm really grateful for, or I like to think about my great-grandfather, who my mom was really close with, who was known for his gardens, like all over town was known for how beautiful his gardens were. And he was actually very sick for most of the last part of his life, and one of the things that, you know, my family that knew him has always said is that gardening and eating his own homegrown organic food, they think, kept him alive for longer than he should have been alive, because he was very sick. So I like to think about him and maybe who he was and what I would have learned from him, and I like to think about my grandparents and my parents and my sister and all of the people in my life who support me and ask me about my garden. And I like to approach this type of work with a very grateful and humble heart. There you go. So we're gonna get some of these plants in the ground. My mom took some plants back with her, and then I will catch up with you tomorrow because we will be planting peppers out at the community plot. And then, with the exception of a couple of last-minute plants, all the spring planting will be done, and then it'll be done. So I am going to get all of these planted, and I will catch up with you tomorrow. Hey guys, it is pepper planting day. So I'm going to load up the peppers to take them over to the community plot, but I thought I'd show them to you, what the seedlings look like right now, and kind of review the varieties that we'll be planting together. So here is one of them. This is a King of the North pepper, and it does have a few buds right in the center. And I picked this pepper, it's a sweet pepper. I picked this one because it's an early producer, and I'm hoping that I can get ahead of the super intense Texas heat and actually get some bell peppers. So this is a King of the North. Some of these are like half falling over, and they've got roots like trying to grow out right at the base of the stem, which means they really need to be planted. This is a serrano pepper. So serranos are
pretty hot peppers. I mean, they're hot to me. I just enjoy the flavor of a serrano better than, say, a jalapeno. I'm still growing some jalapenos too, but I really like the taste of serranos. And then this is a shishito pepper. This one also already has some blossoms on it. And I am planning on, for the shishitos, I actually really like to just char them and like get them real grilled, and then serve them with a garlic aioli, and they're a really tasty appetizer. This one is an Anaheim pepper. These are also pretty hot peppers, but they should be really good. I really want to experiment with making our own like hot sauce this year. So, and then this is one of the fun varieties that I picked. This is called a habanada, and it is basically an habanero that has had the heat bred out of it over generations. So they're gonna look exactly like a habanero, but they're going to be not hot. I don't know if that means they're gonna be sweet, but we'll find out. These two are an orange bell pepper variety. These plants are looking super healthy. I'm really pumped. And also all of these plants do have like very small little buds that'll turn into flowers that'll then turn into peppers. Right before you plant, that's totally fine. I was picking some buds off of some of the peppers that had kind of grown a little too fast. I was picking buds off of some of those earlier this week. And then this is a mini bell pepper variety. So these will be bell peppers that'll only grow like that big, and they are all different varieties. They're gonna be like green and red and orange, and I think also in this variety mix is going to be the chocolate one. So I'm really pumped for these because I love snacking on bell peppers. And so this was kind of one of those plants that I envisioned myself picking them and snacking on them in the garden while I was planting other things. And then this is a poblano pepper. These are really, really good in pozole, or they're also really good stuffed. So pretty excited for the poblanos. They're kind of just like one of those staple peppers that I wish I bought and cooked with more often. So I'm hoping that growing them will encourage me to actually use them. And then here is the jalapeno variety that I'm growing. I had these seeds. I don't know if they're really the best seed. They're called Craig's Grande Jalapeno, and they're definitely hot. They're spicy, but these are really meant to be like fat jalapenos for like poppers and kind of recipes like that. And then the last pepper variety that I have is this guy. This is not a pino, so similar to a habanada. The not a pino is a jalapeno that has been bred to take out the heat. So again, not sure if it's gonna be sweet or just not spicy. And then the last plant that I'm taking that will not actually go in my plot. This is gonna go in the community herb garden in the tea section. This is a Thai red roselle, and I got these seeds in a seed swap, and roselle is really good for making tea and doing all this stuff, so this plant will belong to the community garden. Okay guys, so I'm going to take you to the community plot with me. We'll see if anyone's there and if I can film some of the planting, because planting peppers is definitely a little bit different than planting tomatoes. In terms of you're not going to plant them quite as deeply, and they definitely need a little bit of support. Like this guy who is growing roots down at the base. He needs to be planted, and he definitely needs a little bit of support. So I will use some bamboo sticks and some supports so that he can have some love. But I'll see you over at the plot. Hey guys, okay, we are at the community plot. There's nobody here, probably because it's a little bit cold and it just stopped raining. And by a little bit cold, I mean it's like 55 degrees. That's cold here in Texas. So I've already got a few tomatillos planted, and I've got a few tomatoes planted here. And I'll show you the tomatoes. One of them somehow got their head chopped off. Not sure how that happened. So we'll have to pull that guy and replant it. Tomatoes are one where if the top gets hacked off, they'll grow like out. But it's so small that I don't really want that. I had that happen last year with a tomato where the top of it got chopped off, but it was already like 4 feet tall. So I just let it bush out and it was great. Still produced tons of tomatoes. This one's a little too small, so we're gonna have to pull it as a sacrifice and just chalk it up to Lord only knows what happened. But I'm gonna show you how I plant this pepper. Okay, so I've got my gloves because my hands have been like wrecked lately. But what we're gonna do is, this is all mulch. So we're gonna just move back the mulch. Remember, mulch is important. And apparently a leftover broccoli stem. So we're gonna move back the mulch, and then we're gonna take our shovel or our knife. Do you see this? That is cayenne pepper from my other garden to stop the squirrels, and now that I'm working with these gloves, it's flying into my nose. So we're just gonna dig a hole here. And that is, it's a worm, but I don't think that's the kind of worm I want. Okay, so here is our seedling. We will put our fingers on either side of the stem, very gently dump it out. And there's the root development. We'll take this guy, break up the roots a little bit. We're gonna stick in, that's even a little too deep. So, fill back in this hole. And then replace the mulch. And there you go. That's our first pepper planted, and it's a Nada started on January 7th, planted on March 14th. Okay guys, so I'm gonna finish planting out these peppers without filming it because, you know, not everything needs to be filmed. But with peppers, you wanna allow for at least a foot of space between the plants, which means I'm about to have a lot of pepper plants in here, which is fine, that was the goal. And then with tomatoes, you want at least 18 inches. I put 18 inches between mine last year, and they did pretty well. I did them in like 2 rows of 3, and the middle ones got a little choked out, so I avoided that mistake again. But yeah, spring planting, it's effectively over for now. I'm sure there will still be a few things here and there that I end up needing to get in the ground, but for the most part, we've got everything planted. I'm really pumped. Hey guys, how's it going? It is it's a misty morning here and it's pretty warm out, but I'm at the community plot, as I'm sure you can tell by all of the lovely city and bird sounds all mixed together. And I wanted to just update you guys on how the peppers are looking and the tomatoes. Plants can definitely go through a little bit of what's called transplant shock, to where they're like getting used to the ground and the air and everything. These definitely did go through a little bit of transplant shock when I first planted them, but they look really good now. They're strong. I did give a couple of them some bamboo supports, but yeah, let's check them out. Here's how the peppers are looking. They're looking really great. Really, really happy with how they're turning out, and a lot of the ones that were experiencing some transplant shock have kind of like righted themselves. A few of them are still like leaning a bit, like that guy. That's a shishito pepper. But overall looking pretty good, and all the tomatoes are also looking pretty good. Some of these are just so small. But yeah, these are looking really good. And then actually I'm gonna harvest some of the spinach to make my breakfast or a smoothie. I haven't fully decided yet. Next week is going to be a March garden tour, and I will go over where everything is, how it's doing, and kind of the next steps of the garden, and we'll just talk about all the beautiful things. So thanks so much for joining me this week, Spring Planting Week here in Zone 8B. Join me next week for a March garden tour, and the season has officially started, y'all. Thanks so much, y'all. Happy gardening.